This is the easier-to-read version of 1984 by George Orwell, retold and narrated by Sarah Simpson. Part 2, Chapter 6. It was just another ordinary day in the ministry when it happened. Winston was invited to rebel. It was a very subtle, quiet invitation, but it was an invitation. Winston was sure of it. Winston was walking down the hall at work, just like he always did, when he felt someone coming up behind him. He turned and was surprised to see O'Brien. O'Brien touched him gently on the arm as he said hello. It was unusual for a party member to show warmth or friendliness. "I was hoping I'd see you," O'Brien said, smiling. "I was reading one of your articles the other day. It was very well written. You really know how to use Newspeak when you write. I hear you're interested in studying more about Newspeak." Winston had never expressed any interest in learning more about Newspeak, but he didn't correct O'Brien. "Thank you," Winston said. "I'm not the only one who thinks you write well," O'Brien said. "A mutual friend of ours said the same thing recently, but I can't remember the friend's name. Someone who used to work here? Someone I used to see you eating lunch with." Winston felt a stab of sadness in his heart. He's talking about Sim, Winston thought. What a clever way to break the rules just a little bit, to show me I can trust him. Sim was an unperson. Even hinting that he had existed the way O'Brien had could be enough to get you arrested. "Since you have such a strong interest in Newspeak, I wanted to know if you'd like to get an early look at the 10th edition of the Newspeak Dictionary that's coming out in a few months. We've gotten rid of even more verbs than last time," O'Brien said. "I'd like that," Winston said. O'Brien wrote his name and address on a piece of paper and handed it to Winston. He was very careful to be sure the camera was able to see exactly what was on the paper. It was just O'Brien's address. "Come by my house. I'm at home most evenings. I'll give you a copy. If I'm not there, my servant will give it to you," O'Brien said. "Thank you," Winston replied, taking the paper and putting it in his pocket. "Have a nice day," O'Brien said, walking away. Winston couldn't believe what had just happened. O'Brien had figured out a totally innocent reason for him to go by his house. When he picked up the dictionary, O'Brien might want to talk about a rebellion. Maybe there would be a message hidden in the dictionary. Winston didn't know exactly what to expect, but he knew this was about more than just loaning him a book. Winston knew that going to O'Brien's house was going to change his life, and he didn't feel ready for it. However, he knew that one day he would go. It might be tomorrow, or it might be in a year. This was the next step in Winston's journey. First, he'd bought the diary. Then he'd rented the room and had an affair with Julia. He would meet with O'Brien. There was no turning back. He had made his choice. He knew this choice would lead to torture and death, but it was too late. The thought made him feel sick and cold. It was like laying down in a grave. His grave.